Hi, this is from a recent trip I took in India. Instead of showing you trains, I'd like to show you more about India in this journey from Erode to Chennai. We start from Erode. The next stop is Salem. You're probably wondering if it's okay to stick your hand out of the door on a moving train. The rules on a train, like the traffic rules in India, are more like guidelines. No one's really expecting you to follow them. So yes, you can stick your hand out of a moving train, but play dumb games, win dumb prizes. If you are someone who enjoys dropping the hand, you've got to be careful how far you stick your hand out on a moving train, because there will be no more dropping the hand if you stick your hand far too out. Any person that you are in love with, who you think is beautiful and perfect, has an ugly side to them. India is no different. It's beautiful, but has its ugly side. And I'll show you that ugly side in this journey. So a little bit about Tamil Nadu. It is the southernmost state of India and the 10th largest state. As one would expect, most practice Hinduism, and if you look closely enough, you can spot a temple or two along the way. The official language is Tamil. Incidentally, Tamil is also an official language in Singapore and Sri Lanka, so we do get around. And this train, by the way, is called the Coimbatore Madras Express. Madras is an old name for Chennai. And pay attention to that word express, because I'll be showing you exactly how fast this train goes later on. The total duration of this journey is 6 hours, and I believe we'll soon be arriving at Salem. The train will stop here for a minute or two before it moves on. As we move on from Salem, you'll notice that the terrain is more or less the same as before, flat and lush in greenery. I grew up in this part of Tamil Nadu. While I was young, my parents moved around a lot. No, my dad wasn't part of a traveling circus, nor was he a gypsy magician, but the greatest trick my dad ever pulled was convincing people, a lot of people in this part of India, that Jesus is still alive. I mean, that is the ultimate trick, isn't it? One of my fondest memories from my childhood is the mango farms. You do get a lot of mangoes here. So if you do visit this part of Tamil Nadu, I'd suggest you try the mangoes. They cost around 60 to 70 rupees a kilo. That's approximately $1. Just 20% of Tamil Nadu is covered by forests or greenery. That's not a lot, and I do hope the number goes up, but I don't think it will because of the continuous population increase. Not quite sure how it works in other states in India, but in Tamil Nadu, by the time you turn 25, 26, your parents are out trying to sell you off to the highest bidder, and in a year or two, they demand you have children. What hope in hell does the country have to reduce its population? You turn 25, you get married, you turn 26, they are expecting a cricket team. By the way, I love these colorful train stations scattered along the way. Getting back on track, this continuous increase in population will bring that 20% I talked about earlier down to 10%. What India needs is more condoms, less people, and more forests. My mom has been nagging me for years on end for grandchildren. It's gotten to the point where I'm tempted to go to an orphanage here in Korea and FedEx a child to my mom so she'll shut up. But that's a Tamil family for you. Tamil Nadu is a populated state. Now, how do I know that? Years ago, I used to take my then girlfriend to the woods for a picnic. We'd be right in the middle of, and you'd find a random dude just standing there, staring at us as if he'd never seen two animals before. What a weirdo. I'm pretty certain the feeling was mutual, but still, I can't score at home, I can't score in the woods, there are people everywhere. I'm in the woods, I have wood, but I can't light the fire. Of course, I was thinking with my pants down, but that's when I realized India is overpopulated. But I can't tell you how much that experience made me enjoy nature. Having a woman by your side helps, but there's nothing like being one with nature. I mean, truly one with nature. And I'd pick the Indian countryside over any Indian city every day. Tired of people? Go to the countryside. Need some fresh air? Go to the countryside. Would you like to see the animal in your partner? Take her to the countryside. That's how much I love the Indian countryside. Before we move on, let's do the speed test. How fast can this express really go? I'll be using a Garmin watch to measure the speed. The unit of measurement will be kilometers per hour. I realize this isn't very accurate, but it gives an idea of how fast the train actually goes. I'll be comparing this express Indian train with a train here in Korea. The train in Korea has no fancy name, just a bunch of numbers, and it certainly is not called an express. Anyhow, off we go. They both start at around 40 kilometers per hour. The non-express has touched 100, the express is at 90, the express reaches a maximum of 108, 109 kilometers per hour and doesn't go past that, so we'll pause that for a while. The non-express is up to 260 kilometers per hour. So there you have it. The express does a maximum of 108 or 109 kilometers per hour. That's how fast an Indian express train actually goes. The next station is Vanyambadi. The train will pass through without stopping here. Moving on to the ugly side of India, this should be fun. The ugliness has nothing to do with the country itself. India, the country, has been, is, and will always be a wonderful country. But Due to pricks on legs who substitute as leaders, the ugly side exists. Continuing with the earlier theme, the countryside is always in every form appealing. It is the cities and towns that I find ugly at every turn, and with a reason. Now, watching the towns we go past from a train, you might think, well, that doesn't look that bad, that looks alright. But that's exactly what the Christians said about the Colosseum. What you see from the outside is not necessarily how it's inside. Of course, the large population is an issue, but blaming population for all problems is the same as a fat person blaming chocolates for being fat. Most Indian towns and cities don't have a proper sanitation system or a waste collection system. There are close to 200 million people who live below the poverty line. Given the choice, what do you suppose they'll do? Buy a bin bag to dispose waste or buy food? Of course they'll spend the money on food. The government has got to do more. Don't get me wrong, people should take responsibility as well. A few years ago, I was on a bus in Tamil Nadu, and at one point, the bus went by an empty piece of land where all the waste was being dumped. A lady sitting nearby covered her nose and went, "What a horrible smell." Now, somewhere later along the journey, she pulled out a chocolate bar from her bag, ate the chocolate, and threw the wrapper out of the window. She might as well have ripped one out and gone, "What's that horrible smell?" The government has to do more. Provide more options to people to dispose their waste. Invest in more recycling and waste treatment plants. Now, will it happen? Your guess is as good as mine. I won't be holding my breath. Or maybe I'll have to, depends on how bad the stench actually gets. On that note, we'll be arriving at Jolarpettai. This is a major train hub, so the train will stop for around 5 to 10 minutes here. Here's an interesting thing about Indian trains. They don't make any announcements of any sort on the train about the stations coming up. So it's a bit tricky. It's up to you, the passenger, to find out when and where you have to get off. It's not ideal, but that's how it is. Anyhow, the next stop will be our final destination, Chennai. Now, here's the ugly part of India. As we pull into Chennai, you'll see garbage piled up along the train tracks. So, why all this waste? What happens is, there is no proper waste collection system in place. So people tend to throw out all their garbage and any empty piece of land as far away as possible from where they live. Now, there are nicer neighborhoods where it is a lot more organized and cleaner. You tend to find these mostly in poorer neighborhoods. I blame the government's ineptitude for this problem. The water is probably so toxic that I don't suppose even mosquitoes will survive. It's a sad sight, and I hope it gets better soon enough. Here we are at our final destination, Chennai. Chennai is home to 7 million people with around 16,600 people per square kilometer. Welcome to Chennai.